Happening. Welcome back. 3 NDE stories, and we're gonna start with this video actually. Hopefully, it'll play okay. It's about like this Native American lady that, and her experience. Wow, it's an hour. Wow, okay. Alright, maybe we'll save that for another video actually. Okay, we'll keep that open in another tab because the title of this video is 3 stories, and if one of those stories is a whole hour, which I'm here for, we'll cover that because it sounds really interesting to me. It happened to her when she was just 16. The poster gives a beautiful description of her journey and struggles. So that sounds pretty cool. So we'll just go through this one by user Near Death. He's always posting some fire. Alright, here's the picture for it. Pretty sweet. In his 2000 book, My Descent into Death, Howard Storm describes his NDE in 1985, when beings of light showed him possible timelines of a future golden age and a possible future of immense destruction. That sounds about right. There's like 2 extremes, kind of. Extreme possibilities. According to Storm, we currently live in a time when humanity is caught up in materialism, greed, and selfishness. Environmental degradation is worsening, nations are aggressive and militaristic, religion is more institutional than spiritual. We're at a critical turning point. Humanity is choosing between 2 paths, destruction or transformation. If humanity fails to change from between the 2030s to the 2060s, there will be worldwide natural disasters, earthquakes, volcanoes, storms. The power grid in the US will be sabotaged. A global financial collapse will occur. Wars will break out around the world. Parentheses, no nuclear war. Well, that's good. And social chaos will be widespread. A utopian future can occur between the 2100s and the 2200s, but only if humanity changes course now. This utopia will be a golden age when all war, poverty, and injustice are eliminated. The earth will be healed and sustainably managed. Governments will be based on wisdom and compassion, not power. Spiritual beings will interact more openly with humanity. Life will be guided by divine love. That's interesting to think. Spiritual beings, they would be more open with us if we were guided by love. Would I rather have my grandma's name or her hairstyle? Bro, what? That's such a weird question, bro. My grandma's hairstyle went pretty hard. Probably that one. Yeah, both my grandmas. Yeah. People will return to spiritual values. Technology will be reintroduced gradually, used ethically and sustainably. Yeah, well, hopefully we get that second future. 2100s will be, past my time, I think, but it's a good thought to think, like, my children, grandchildren might get to experience that. What's good, Wilshana Richburg? Wilshina? Shina? Wilshina? Is that how you say it? Alright, here we are. Died on the Toilet. Relatable. By So Birdie. Oh, that's a nice name. As stated, my NDE happened when I was very sick with gastro. I had people in the house, but they ignored me. When I was banging on the door for help, I could feel myself fading, not so much like fainting, as I have fainted before, and it is quite painful for me, and I get visions in my head, and they are really red for some reason, but this was very different. After I faded out, I was in a void, complete silence, and blackness. I didn't think, I just knew. I knew I was everything, but I couldn't see everything. I know I could go where I wanted, but I is the wrong word. I have no sense of self. The peace I felt was amazing. I don't know about love, but I felt so calm and kind of felt like this was a long sleep almost. I stayed there for at least 20 minutes in the real world, but it felt like only a few minutes maybe. I came back clutching the bucket I was vomiting in, and again, if I fainted, I would have let go, but I was in the exact same place as I was when I left. After that, someone came in and helped me, but I felt better for a while when I felt sick again. Never been in a situation since to have an NDE, but it's fun to share. Everyone I tell just says I fainted. Yeah, it makes you kind of wish like they decided to try to go somewhere. Hello, Ev Faye. What's good? Is that how you say it? Ev Faye? Alright, we're already getting onto the third story here. This one's kind of short. I'm going to try to find one that's a bit more long, because we're only 7 minutes in here. Okay, that's not very long either. How long is this video here? 42 minutes. Alright, here's one that's pretty long. My NDE during childbirth. My birthday is August 19th. What about you? By Unclear Costin. Hi all, after receiving support and encouragement on a previous post here, I thought it would be a good step for me to share my story. I had what I've been told is an NDE a bit over 3 months ago now when I gave birth to my son. I had an uncomplicated pregnancy, was induced, had an unremarkable labor that proceeded normally. Delivered my son after only 25 minutes of painless pushing. Held epidural. Oh yeah, super close. Held my son in my arms in what was the happiest moment of my life. I saw him open his eyes when he heard my voice, and as this wave of euphoria engulfed me, I suddenly felt lightheaded and heard the doctor say, "Oh, that's a lot of blood," and I began to rapidly bleed out. My doctor could not find the source of the bleeding. Oh, that's terrifying. Wow. Wow. Hey, what's up, Shariah? At that point, I completely I'm just reading some indies tonight. At that point, I completely disassociated dissociated, and had an out-of-body experience. I saw everything in the room happening. My partner standing in the corner with my son, and my aunt standing next to me holding my arm while many doctors and nurses were in a frenzy to figure out the source of my bleeding, sticking multiple IV lines in my arms, with the blood pressure cuff going off every few seconds. I recall thinking that I was dying and actually feeling annoyed by it. No fear, pure annoyance. I saw my blood pressure plummet to 60/25 and saw myself go into shock. Oh, I'm sorry, that's sad. Like today, that happened. At that point, I was no longer in the hospital or in my body at all. I went back to many moments of my life. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of. Ones where I betrayed myself, hurt others, or where I took away the wrong lesson. It was not this big shameful thing. It was more just pure knowing data. From there, I was wrapped in a warm light and felt the presence of my mom, who died when I was 20 years old, next to the presence of something enormously powerful, ancient, and all-knowing. I felt no fear and no pain, but I also did not feel the deep peace and love many people describe in their NDEs. I just remember feeling very strongly that I should not die. I called on my mom and explained that I had to get back to my son, that I could not leave him motherless as I had been left motherless. I had a very distinct impression that my answer pleased the all-knowing presence, and it was made clear to me while I could stay if I wanted. My choice to return and my mother, my son, was honorable. Then I opened my eyes to see my aunt still at my arm, glowing in all white like an angel. I remember having the impression that she was helping to hold my soul in my body. I regained consciousness, having lost a large portion of my total blood volume and receiving many units of blood. I had nearly bled out from a severe internal injury that the medical staff had nearly been unable to stop. I sat in befuddlement with my baby on my chest, and I mean it when I say I felt nothing. I couldn't even bring myself to name my son until the next day because of the shock, blood loss, excruciating pain, and cocktail of drugs in my system. Hello, Malik the goat. I say goo goo gaga. Yeah, me too. That night was the lowest point of my whole life. I was in excruciating pain and was convinced I would never bond with my baby. I prayed to my mom and two things happened. My phone spontaneously began to play the last voicemail she ever left me, plus a nurse was brought to my room who had also survived a severe hemorrhage and NDE. This nurse talked through everything, and I honestly feel is the only reason I was able to survive the coming days. She helped me to reframe my thinking, which in turn helped me to very quickly form a strong bond with my son. I am so grateful she was brought to my room that night. I had a long journey to recovery after that, which included another close scrape with death, but not an NDE, and multiple rehospitalizations for complications not limited to fluid in my lungs, postpartum preeclampsia infection, severe fever, urine retention, clotting issues, etc. At many points I did feel I would die, and while I did not fear death per se, I felt so strongly that I must be here for my son. I was living in the state of near constant panic that I would return to death and be separated from him. Yeah, you're the goat, Faye. You're the goat. I don't know if there's any right way to react to NDE, but I do feel my situation was made different by the excruciating pain I was in, the extreme hormonal swings I was enduring, and the way that having a newborn consumes your ever-waking thought. I did not even have a moment to think about my NDE or what I had experienced, which I truly thought was just some sort of hallucination caused by extreme blood loss. My heart had never technically stopped during my episode despite the shock and traumatic blood loss. For this reason, I'm not sure if what I experienced was truly an NDE. That said, I do know what I saw and that it was significant. See, my dad and me were kind of speaking of that. Yeah, I'm trying to quit. And, we were curious, like, even when your heart stops, like, your brain is still functioning, so, is that, like, the determining factor if it's an NDE? It's like the heart stops. I guess the most common cause of death, apparently, is, like, not enough oxygen to the brain or something. And I think maybe that's like that's like when, if this is just hallucination, maybe that's also a factor. Like, I don't know much about the human body. I do feel that my NDE was some sort of test and that it was right that I chose to come back to my son. I have changed a lot as a result of my experience. I only feel at true peace when I am holding my son. I have no interest in my job anymore, so I quit. I understand how privileged I am to be in the position to do this. No interest in fun, drinking, or parties. No interest in surface level conversation or social pretense. Relationships have fallen apart because I cannot bring myself to tolerate pretense. I see the wounded child inside of every person I encounter, even people on the news, and I want to hold them like a baby. I live very much in my head and am filled with knowing about others, even my partner. I feel I can see their deep thoughts, feelings, fears, and I sort of feel like I am violating their privacy. I've begun to visit my spirits in my sleep. They seem to be benevolent and respect when I say I'm not ready to talk. I have been visited by my mom a few times. The home in which I live has the benevolent spirit of the woman who died here peacefully after raising 6 boys here. Many mornings that I wake up to care for my baby, she touches my shoulder or makes a sign to say good morning. When I was younger, I had some really weird things happen to me along these lines, but they stopped in adolescence and I've put them out of my mind and life until now. I've been so closely monitored and scrutinized, poked, prodded, and tested to the limits of my medical ability. I know that this is not some sort of health crisis or brain tumor. I do admit PPD and PPA could be contributing, and I am on Zoloft, but this very much goes beyond those types of diagnosis. What's good, Louie? Hey, good to see you. I'm coming to accept that how have you been? I am coming to accept that I have crossed into a new chapter of my life, and now must walk the spiritual path that lay before me. This sub has provided me with some amazing resources for finding more answers and guidance, and I am so grateful for that. That's all I can think to write at this time. Wow. Yeah, that is such a wild story. That's like so scary that, you know, she just started bleeding out internally, and that must be so difficult to stop that kind of bleeding too, I would think. So, well, yeah, shout out to our mothers for real. Um, and thank you for tuning in. Faye, I'm really sorry about your dog, and let's hope you meet them again sometime. Alright, see you next time. Thank you.